halal food certification is now going to be investigated by a 6-month parliamentary inquiry that aims to establish the facts behind these certifications. Cory Benardi was behind the push for halal foods and the racket, as he calls it, of certification schemes to be put under the microscope. Just so everyone's clear, halal certified food is prepared in a certain way to suit the Islamic faith. Muslims insist on eating halal certified food, a lot of them. So many companies seek the halal stamp in order to export to countries like Indonesia. Now, there's a growing push against halal because many Australians feel uncomfortable about paying a tax which some describe as a Muslim tax. Senator Benardi is also concerned about where the money from halal certification ends up. Not only that, but he wants to establish the facts about all certification schemes, including kosher, organic, and genetically modified foods. Cory Benardi, Senator for South Australia, joins me on the line. Senator, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ben. Good to be with you.
Nice to talk to you. The 6-month inquiry, how did you win this?
Well, I was fortunate in that the Liberal Party supported me in it after I explained the importance of it and why the community needs their fears allayed. And I'm also grateful that 6 of the crossbenchers joined in and gave us a parliamentary majority against the Labor Party and the Greens.
Out of interest, there'll be some of my listeners who'll be keen to know who the crossbenchers were who supported this.
Senator Lionhelm supported it, Bob Day supported it, Ricky Muir supported it. We had Jackie Lambie and Glenn Lazarus all on board, and Senator Madigan from Victoria.
Okay, all right. Now, your Agriculture Minister, Barnaby Joyce, is warning against all of this. He's saying the ramifications are huge if Australia's meat industry dropped halal certification. He says the local price of beef could triple if Australian abattoirs could not sell to Islamic markets like Indonesia, Saudi Arabia.
Well, Barnaby's put forward a view. He said, you don't want to pick a fight that is going to have a negative outcome. But I'm interested in certification schemes, and I want to contrast and compare, the various certification schemes out there and establish what the truth and the facts are. And one of the conditions, or one of the points that I've made in my reference, is the importance of food certification schemes in relation to export market access. Now, there are questions in this as well. If you export to a certain market, they insist you use a certain certifier. There are questions as to cost and things. But, I wonder how we manage to export to certain countries without having to comply with, onerous schemes and what the real impact is. And, if you want to compare and contrast, you say, well, okay, the kosher certification seems to happen in one way. There's 2 certifiers for that. There's 22 for Muslim. There's, more than a few for organic. What does it all mean? GMO, all of those things. What does it mean? And how much does it cost consumers? What's the truth? What are the facts? And that way we'll either allay consumer fears if there's no problem, but if there is a problem, we can fix it.
Has the kosher angle and the organic angle and the genetically modified angle been thrown in there so it doesn't appear to be anti-Muslim?
No, I'm actually interested in the whole certification schemes, and you've got to contrast them and compare them in order to find out whether some are just being made up, I guess, or used for profiteering purposes or for what I would call a corporate blackmail. Let me give you an example. Across my desk has come claims that some of the green groups, for example, are saying, well, if you don't put our certification label on your food products, we will organise protests and secondary boycotts, if you will, from the consumer level, from our activist base, and that will put a lot of pressure on your business and damage your business. And I'm saying that businesses are very vulnerable, and they're vulnerable because the thing they hate more than anything is negative publicity. And we know that, in the case of green groups, they've got the activists who don't have jobs, that and they can go along and create all sorts of mayhem and destroy it. So if that's true, I want to get to the bottom of it.
Oh, there is some financial pressure on people, businesses, isn't there, to submit and to agree to the halal stamp. And I need to clarify, I'm talking about financial pressure as opposed to other types of pressure. And I know this from mates of mine, farmers who are in the beef industry, who say, look, we really, in the end, we had to get the stamp because otherwise we're going to be left behind on exports.
Well, this is the thing. There's lots of claims like this. And Ben, I get hundreds of questions a week about halal in particular, what it costs. I've written to groups like AFIC, the Federation of Islamic Councils, who run a certification scheme, asking for their annual reports. I've written to companies seeking details of what they pay. I've heard anecdotal evidence of chicken shops that have been forced into compliance and a whole range of other things. But I can't establish what the truth is. So a Senate inquiry will allow consumer groups, it'll allow certifiers, it'll allow businesses to make submissions, put the facts on the table. We can take evidence in confidence if that's necessary, so there's no fear of retribution, and we can actually decide whether this is a rort. Because around the world, these sorts of schemes, there are groups that are seeking to purchase what I would call a social license and forcing everyone else into compliance with it, whether they be environmental groups or religious groups or anything else. And if we don't get to the facts, if we don't establish what's happening, we'll realise that there is an element that's taking control, I guess, of Australia's sovereignty in a means or a way. And what's happening to the money? That's the other question. Is it funding organisations that we don't like?
I was just about to jump in on that because we hosted a bit of a forum about halal maybe about a month or so ago, and the one thing that I couldn't get to the bottom of and I was intrigued about was where is the money going? And while representatives of the halal certification industry were saying, no, look, the rumours or the allegations that it's funding terrorism or whatever is complete BS, what they weren't able to say in clear terms is where is the money going?
Well, in some instances, and I'd like to know the facts here as well, but in some instances the money goes to purely commercial operations, and I've got emails of someone that says, I'm setting up a certification scheme, halal certification, because I'm going to make money off you people, you're going to be forced into compliance and I'll get very rich. But we do know that overseas, halal certification fees have been used to go to organisations which then go on and support organisations like Hezbollah and Hamas, which are prescribed terrorist groups. We also know that, in Australia, that some of these dangerous or more militant organisations are getting their funds from somewhere. Now, if you go to a certification agency that's run by a not-for-profit organisation, and they will not give you their annual accounts, and as me as a public official, and if they say we just distribute the money to various other organisations around the place, we then have to delve into the operations of every single one of those other organisations, and you come back to some of these bookshops where the radicalisation is taking place, and you go, where is your cash coming from? Now, I don't know how much of this is true. I don't know what the claims that I received are accurate. I can't answer the question.
Well, when will this inquiry begin?
Well, technically it's begun. The Senate has approved it. There's got to be a meeting of the committee, and then they'll call for submissions. The Senate workload is extraordinary for the committee staff at the moment.
I understand. And will you be chairing it?
No, I won't be. It's a references committee, so it's chaired by Sam Dastyari. I'll be participating. The Labor Party will have a majority on it.
We don't have to sit through Sam Dastyari, do we?
Well, we will, but
God help us.
He'll be ably supported by many participating members who have an interest in this. And one thing I know for sure is that we will have thousands of submissions from interested Australians.
Okay, well, we will follow it with interest. Really appreciate you coming on, Cory.
It's a pleasure. Thanks, Ben.
Cory Benardi, Senator for South Australia, joining us on Sydney Live.